Instagram stories for Monday, September 22nd. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. I am actually traveling this week, so apologies for the inferior audio quality to what it's normally like. However, I have content from the head of Instagram, where he did his weekly Ask Me Anything, answering questions like, where can you put links on Instagram? And does reach on stories matter? We'll also hear from the CEO of YouTube, Neil Mohan, as he explains how the platform will treat AI content differently based on whether it's partially AI or fully AI, and how creators can ensure that their content is still going to be seen despite the fear of AI slop. All of that and more on today's episode, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's start with the questions and answers from the head of Instagram, and the first one has to do with links. The question: can I only add links in stories or posts and reels too? Well, the answer to that is there are only two places on Instagram you can have links: in your bio and in stories. Those are the only places. Here's the head of Instagram explaining more.
Right now we support links in stories as a stickers, and we support link in bio, and there's very limited support for links outside of that. In general, links aren't a bad thing. We get it. People find them really useful, but they also are often abused. If there were links allowed everywhere, we worry that they would take over. You'd end up with a lot more spam, a lot more publisher content, a lot more safety, integrity concerns as well. So for now, we're trying to find the right balance and allowing it in some places and adding friction in others. I understand that's probably really frustrating to those of you who've got perfectly legitimate reasons to want to use links, but we're trying to balance all the different pros and cons here, and I feel good about where we are, at least right now.
I just want to take this opportunity to say that although Adam Mosseri and Instagram have repeatedly said that the reason there are not links allowed in captions is because of spam, there's tons of spam on Instagram already. There's spam comments, there's spam DMs. Not having links in captions hasn't prevented any of that spam, so I don't understand the connection there. Let's go on to the next question. Do stories help to improve my reach? This is a good question. Although stories are primarily designed for people who already follow you, it will help because people who watch your story are indicating that they are interested in seeing more content from you. So in that way, yes, stories do help. However, just posting a story just because you can, just because you saw something on Reels or in your feed that you wanted to share with others, and so you posted it to your story, is no guarantee that everyone who follows you is going to see that story. Here's Adam's answer to the question.
At a high level, yes. Stories in general are going to reach less people than feed posts and reels. That's just because there's a lot of stories out there, and most people consume a very small percentage of their overall stories. But it's definitely incremental. It's definitely additional people on top of the people that you're going to reach. Or if they're the same people that you would reach through a post to feed, it is an additional moment that you're going to reach them. So if you've got content that you think is good for stories, particularly behind the scenes content, how things work, that kind of stuff, I would definitely suggest at least trying it out.
Notice what he didn't say there. He didn't say, if you come across a piece of content you like and you think other people will like it too, share it to your story. That's not what he said. I really want to see more people creating original content for their stories, and content that really makes me want to ask them questions and engage with them. What made you go to that place? How did you find out about it? What was that experience like? Whatever it is, I want to see real original content on stories, not just reshared content. Okay, now let's move on to the features request section. The question: people have been adding text to photos in stories and then posting to feed. Can you add the ability to add texts to posts on feed? Here's Adam's answer.
The question here is about some of the tools that you have, like adding text to stories. Can we bring it to feed? We really should. We actually worked on this a little bit. I'm not sure what happened to that project, so we'll chase that down.
Honestly, I don't think that feature is a huge deal. You can just make a story, save it to your phone, and then post it to your feed. I don't really feel like this is such an important feature to implement, but that's just my opinion. Okay, the last question we're going to talk about from the head of Instagram today has to do with edits. Will edits allow editing 3:4 ratio videos for carousels in the future? Here's Adam's answer.
The question here is, will we support 3x4 exports from edits? Because carousels support 3x4 videos. That's a good idea. I'll talk to the team. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, I do want to take this opportunity to call out. I appreciate that Adam takes these feature suggestions that people submit and brings them back to the team for determining if they're a good fit, prioritization, and so forth. I do respect that. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, the CEO of YouTube, Neil Mohan, is going to talk about how the platform is going to treat partially AI created content versus fully AI generated content and what that means for creators. Stick around. Welcome back. Recently, I watched a long interview from John Yeshua, who used to work at Instagram and then worked at YouTube, where he sat down with the CEO of YouTube, Neil Mohan, and asked him a ton of great questions. I will link to this interview in the show notes so that you can watch it for yourself. It is excellent, especially if you watch at 1.5x or 2x while you're on a walk or something similar. My favorite part of this interview was where John asked him how YouTube is going to differentiate between content that is partially made by AI versus fully made by AI, and what the team at YouTube's plans are for preventing AI slop. Here's a clip from that interview.
Another huge topic that a lot of creators have asked about is AI, and how will that impact our monetization, the discovery of our videos, especially as there's some studios and faceless channels out there that make a ton of AI-generated content, and obviously that competes for the same digital real estate that our human content does. And I know as part of this launch, YouTube's actually launching a ton of new AI tools. One, I saw a first look of where you could turn your speech into a song. I saw this tool that you guys are launching where it takes a bunch of videos from your camera roll and turns it into a full-fledged short, like a recipe tutorial. This other one that inserts a photo of you into a dance video so you could partake in a trend. And I know Google has VO3, and I get the validity behind them. For a newer creator, like that makes it easier to upload, kind of like a filter did back in the day for a photo. And we're just in the first inning of all this. And there's a ton of AI slop out there as well. And so knowing all this, I wanted to tee up a question from none other than Logan Paul and get your thoughts.
Okay.
What's up, Neil? Logan here. I'm curious what type of AI content will be eligible for monetization on YouTube and not get dinged in the algorithm. I think a lot of AI studios are going to be popping up here as it becomes more and more prominent. And I'm wondering how YouTube is going to handle it, because I think there's a misconception at the moment with how much work goes into some of the high quality, top tier AI content that's being made. And people just don't know about it. And some of it's generated fully, some of it's half generated and mixed in with traditional media techniques. And so I'm just curious how YouTube is going to be handling this AI revolution, because I think it's going to be really prominent and a lot of content will be generated.
Yeah. Oh man, this is a super interesting question. And I think even the way Logan framed it is actually sort of the right way to frame it, which is what I would say first and foremost is I don't think our systems, whether it's, the algorithm that Logan's alluding to, or monetization or what have you, should honestly discriminate one way or the other, whether something was generated via AI like VO or something like that, or done sort of with a traditional sort of camera, or some combination. Just like new video editing tools are invented all the time, new ways to modify your video are being invented all the time. I really view all of these AI tools that we're creating as exactly that, tools. Like, they should enable creative people like yourself, like Logan, like others to do what they do best, which is produce amazing content for their audiences. And so that's the first thing that I will say. And I think that applies to our discovery algorithms. It applies to monetization. Having said that, I also recognize that with AI tools, the cost of production can go down dramatically if you're just in the business of trying to produce as like a giant quantity of content and sort of put it out there to see what happens. Like, that has now become dramatically easier. So I think it is incumbent on how YouTube works to make sure that we are not, that users don't get flooded with, quote unquote, sort of low quality content or what have you. Just like we worked really hard to eliminate the clickbait problem that used to exist, years and years ago in the thumbnails, and really focus on things like sort of long-term satisfaction on YouTube. That's the way that I think about approaching it, both in terms of discovery of this type of content, but also in terms of monetization. So no a priori ding or sort of prejudice around it, but recognizing that these tools might result in some of that type of content being produced, and making sure that our systems are capable and robust enough to be able to deal with them. That's how I think about it. We also have a lot of community guidelines already in place where if you're a creator that is uploading, fully synthetic content, you should, indicate that in the upload. And then we place that sort of label sometimes on the video itself, but oftentimes just in the metadata. Again, just as a service to all of your fans and users so that they can recognize that, this was produced in this particular fashion.
Yeah.
And by the way, every piece of content on YouTube, whether it's produced, kind of with a camera, with AI tools, with some combination, is also, of course, subject to our community guidelines around, deceptive practices and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, I'm going to stop the clip there, but the next part of the interview, John actually gives the CEO of YouTube examples of different videos that he had generated partially by AI and fully by AI, and asked him specifically, how would each of these videos be treated by the YouTube algorithm? Fascinating. Again, I will link to the entire video in the show notes so you can check it out for yourself. That is it for today's episode. As always, thank you for listening. If you have some recommendations of things that I could improve about the show, please send me a DM at Daniel Hill Media. I would love to chat with you, hear what you like about the show and what could be better. And if you haven't heard the new rap song for the episode, here it is.
Let's get it. The year was 2013. You posted your first pic and you're glad your post got seen. Your friends liked it too, but what you didn't know is what posting on that platform would do. Taking all your time and attention, doom scrolling. Also, let me mention, you gotta post on every platform, putting content on every set just to conform. Likes gave you validation and you got hooked. Now engagement is down, you feeling overlooked. Hey, keep coming back for more podcasts. And find me on